Jehu usually goes out and comes back and gives me the thumbs up. But okay, so we have Pastor Sterling and Barbara here from Brooklyn. That's a blessing to us. And then Pastor David here from Sandwich, Cape Cod. And he has a vision for Greater Grace Church in Cape Cod. It's already registered, and he's been there probably 20 years. I don't know, 20 years, and now he has a plan and going forward, and he doesn't quit. He always has faith. Always, he has faith, and my family and I, we used to do the summer vacation up there, but we used to, when I was there, there'd be one day where he and I get together at the Dunkin' Donuts in Osterville and meet and talk. That was fun, wasn't it? But then we stopped going, so we haven't done that for many years, I think. Okay, so Mark, the Gospel of Mark. I liked the Gospel of Mark, and there are things about it that I don't know, the style of it, the directness of it, the simplicity of it, the stories that are told in the Gospel of Mark, and what Jesus did. I think we're looking at five. I was going to do 5:18 about the deliverance of the demoniac, but I have done that recently online in the morning devotional, so I think I'm going to change it. There was Abimelech, Gideon's son, was a good story that I read the other day. And then I did 2 Samuel 14 with David and his problem. I think that would be a good text for us today, 2 Samuel 14. And the point is actually not that I'm necessarily like it's relevant but it is. Have you ever been in a no-win situation? Like maybe in your family, you have a no-win situation. This is 2 Samuel 14. And what Joab did to get David to be reconciled to Absalom. I think I'm going to talk to you as if you know the story, okay? Like Absalom and David had a falling out. Why? Because Absalom murdered his brother, Ammon, and Absalom conspired. It was a 2-year. Tamar is raped. 2 years later, Absalom arranges a barbecue with his brothers, and there at the barbecue, Ammon, the man guilty of the rape, is murdered. Absalom oversaw that, and he saw that disturbed David, and you can read that in these chapters. And so Absalom and David are estranged from each other, and nobody likes that when one person isn't talking to another person. Like we don't like that. We like the communication, and we like the relationship to be healed. But David is not talking with Absalom. He doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't trust Absalom, and he doesn't really want to get. And actually, in the story, you can see that Joab really doesn't trust him either. But this is an attempt by Joab to get the two together. So this is 2 Samuel 14, verse 1. No, Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom. And Joab sent to Tekoa and fetched there a wise woman, and said unto her, I pray thee, feign yourself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint not thyself with oil, to be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead. And come to the king, and speak on this manner unto him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. And when the woman of Tekoa spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground, did obeisance, and said, Help, O king. And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and my husband is dead. And your handmaid had 2 sons, and they 2 strove together in the field. And there was none to part them, but the one smote the other and slew him. And behold, the whole family is risen against your handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he slew. And we will destroy the heir also, and so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth. All right, do you understand the story? Okay. The woman has this story, has 2 sons. One is killed by the other. According to the law, should he be killed? You kill, then you will be killed. But if he is killed, then the woman not only doesn't have her husband because she's a widow, but has lost 2 sons. And so then my coal is gone. We don't have an inheritance. I don't have a man in my family. I don't have social security. I don't have anybody to take care of me. So my son, who killed my other son, is going to be killed, and that's going to wipe out our inheritance. And David's response was what? No, that shouldn't happen. So I will, intercede for you. I will come into the situation. I will not allow that to happen. That's what David is going to say here. Okay, verse 8. And the king said unto the woman, Go to your house, and I will give charge concerning thee. And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. And the king said, Whatsoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch you any more. So, do they have a few words there, like protect me? And he's saying, I will protect you. Like, this will not be happening. Now, what's the design of the plan? The design of the plan is for this story to go to David's heart and understand this is what he's doing with Absalom. That he has a problem with Absalom, but he should receive Absalom into his home or receive Absalom into his heart. He should forgive Absalom. But David is very hesitant about it because he doesn't really trust Absalom. And he doesn't really want this problem. But the fact that he's making this judgment for this woman is also a story leading him to search his own heart and see, is there any room in his heart for Absalom? Could he, even though it's a problem, but could he receive Absalom into his heart and into his home, into the situation? And David is really not wanting to, but he's going to. Look at verse 11, right? Yeah. Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that you would not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And he said, As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of your son fall to the ground. Then the woman said, Let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto my lord the king. And he said, Say on. And the woman said, now she's going to bring it home. Now, this woman is a wise woman, it says. Like, she's able to do this, and she knows what she's doing. And she's talking to the king, and that's kind of scary in a way, but she's capable of doing it. And the king is hearing her. And look at how it goes. she said, can I say one more thing to you? And the woman said, he said, yes, and say on. And the woman said, wherefore then hast thou thought such a thing against the people of God? For the king doth speak this thing as one which is faulty, and that the king does not fetch home again his banished. Who is that? That's Absalom. That you are actually against the people of God, and also that you are not bringing home Absalom. And I'm going to put into the story, like David could say, I don't want to bring Absalom home. He's actually a murderer, and I don't trust him, and I don't really want to bring him home. But she's kind of like saying, like, in my story, you are kind and understanding to me, and I would like you to have that same heart towards Absalom. So verse 14, for we must needs die, and as water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again, neither does God respect any person, yet does he devise means that his banished be not expelled from him. Jehu, did you order that? Verse 15. Now therefore that I am come to speak of this thing unto my lord the king, it is because the people have made me afraid. I got distracted, so I want you to follow that with me, okay? Now therefore that I am come to speak of this thing unto my lord the king, is because the people have made me afraid. And your handmaid said, I will now speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. Like she's saying, I'm not doing this on my own, but I'm making a request. Like people have put me up to this. I'm making a request, and please, hear me out. Verse 16. For the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together out of the inheritance of God. Then thine handmaid said, the word of my lord the king shall not be comfortable. Will now be comfortable. For as the angel of God, so is my lord the king, to discern good and bad. Therefore the Lord thy God will be with thee. Now watch this. This is I will never forget verse 18. I mean, watch this. It's the king said, tell me honestly, did Joab put you up to this? Huh? Come on, isn't that good? Now tell me, he says to the woman, did Joab send you to tell me this? Or is Joab behind this? Why? Because verse 1 says that Joab discerned that the king's heart was toward Absalom, and Joab wanted Absalom and David to be reconciled. Verse 18, then the king answered and said unto the woman, hide not from me, I pray thee, the thing that I shall ask thee. And the woman said, let my lord the king now speak. He said, is not the hand of Joab with you in all this? Yeah? What do you think? What's behind it? I like to think like that about people. Like sometimes when they talk to you, there may be something behind it. That'd be another. Also, I've noticed that people repeat sentences that they hear. They hear something on the street, and then they have that in their mind, and that's what they repeat. Things are bad. Things are bad. And then you talk to the person, they go, things are bad. Things are bad, It's like, are you parroting words that you're hearing, or are you thinking about what you are saying, right? Right? Isn't it happened to all of us? Yeah. Things are great. Things are great. Things are great. Things are great. They are. But maybe not. Maybe not. And then also, this problem with Absalom, David and Absalom, is actually the result, an effect of David's sin with Bathsheba, and that the sword would not leave his family. Because not only Ammon is killed, but soon Absalom will be hanging from a tree by his hair, and put 3 darts will go into him, right? From Joab, actually. Joab will be killing Absalom, but Joab at this time is trying to get Absalom reconciled to his dad. And David discerned it, and he said to the woman, "Tell me honestly. Tell me honestly." It's a verse. The woman said in 19, the woman answered, "As thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right hand or to the left from aught that my lord the king hath spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me, and he put all these words in the mouth of your handmaid. To fetch about this form of speech hath thy servant Joab done this thing. And my lord is wise according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things that are in the earth." And the king said unto Joab, "Behold now, I have done this thing. Go, therefore, bring the young man Absalom again." And Joab fell to the ground on his face, and bowed himself and thanked the king. And Joab said, "Today thy servant knows that I have found grace in your sight, my lord, O king, and that the king has fulfilled the request of his servant." So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. And the king said, "Let him turn to his own house. Let him not see my face." So Absalom returned to his own house and saw not the king's face. Why didn't he see the king's face? Because David, in his heart, didn't want that. He didn't really want it. But he did it. He made an effort. But I kind of think of Absalom as the elder son in the parable of Luke 15. The elder son that didn't know his father, I kind of think of a person hard to work with, a person that is antagonistic, a person that is not in the spirit. Because if you notice something, when you are in the spirit, oneness is there with God and with your brother and your sister. But Absalom has a different spirit. Absalom is, and David is saying he can come back, but I really don't want to see him. Now, some would argue this was David's mistake. I mean, you just have to live long enough to know that there are some things that you don't know. Are they right or are they wrong? It could be in your own family. There might be somebody in your own family you don't really want to spend your summer vacation with them. There might be another spirit, or, they are antagonistic toward you, or devising things, or talking things behind your back. There's not the love and there's not the oneness. And that has to happen in the body, because that's what the body is. The body is the Holy Spirit in the people who are worshiping and loving and forgiving each other. Not sowing discord. Proverbs chapter 6. Sowing discord is an abomination. And this guy is there. Now look at the story. Many of you know it, but Absalom's in the city, but he's getting frustrated. You look at verse 24. The king said, "Let him turn to his own house. Let him not see my face." So Absalom returned to his own house and saw not the king. But in all Israel there was none to be so much praised as Absalom for his beauty. From the sole of his foot even to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. What does that mean? He's a handsome man. He has honor. He's gaining honor in chapter 15, as King David is kind of being forced to be with him or recognize him. That's in that chapter. Look at verse 25. 26. When he pulled his head For it was at every year's end that he pulled it, because the hair was heavy on him. Therefore he pulled it. He weighed the hair of the head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. And unto Absalom there were born there 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a woman of a fair countenance. So Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem, and saw not the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab, to have sent him to the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent again the second time, he would not come. Do you know what that means to me? Verse 29. Even Joab didn't want to see him. Like Joab didn't want to get involved. But so Absalom burned Joab's fields to get an audience with him. And then when he got an audience with him, he said, this is ridiculous that I live here in Jerusalem and the king won't see me. So you make it happen. So that's down at verse, Joab arose, verse 31, 32. Let's see. I kind of don't want to read it all. But he said, let me see the king's face. Okay, so Joab came to the king and told him. And when he called for Absalom, he came to the king, bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. Okay, so now this story goes on. Isn't it fascinating? It's a story of intrigue. It's a story of human nature. It's a story of how difficult it is. And if you think of God, with us, human beings, we are weak, confused, troubled. But he's patient. Jesus is patient. Jesus is ministering, and Jesus is teaching us. And then with each other, we can make mistakes. We can be proud one day, humble another time. We could be saying the wrong things. We can be corrected. But we need a lot of patience and a lot of love with each other. And we have to be careful with this, that we don't apply this to people that are just like stumbling along in life. But then there's another part of it, and this is the meaning of the story, that there are some people, they're not going to change. They are in a very bad place, and they don't change, and they become a problem. And we have to be careful with that, but we can't be naive and believe that Judas Iscariot is going to change. He may not, and he will betray Jesus, and he could do it again and again and again, because he doesn't change. That kind of person, that's the kind of person that you don't want to be, and I don't want to be. So isn't that a good story? I introduced that chapter to you today. Probably you already know it. Some of you memorize it, by heart. But I'm happy about that, because it's a fascinating story. And if you read chapter 15, you see how it develops, and then what it means, and how much hatred there was against David. And Absalom wanted to kill him. And David left the city. And David says something interesting when he left the city, going up Mount Olives, crying, dust on his head, barefoot, as a king. And remember, they said, should we bring the ark with us? And David said, no. This is more not about me as much as it is about the country. The ark stays in Jerusalem, and if God brings me back, he will, but if not, then he doesn't. But the ark is staying there because this is about God and the country and his will. But right now, I'm at a low place, and you can't help but Jesus on the Mount of Olives in a similar way, being rejected by Israel in Luke 19, verse 41, and he looks over Jerusalem and he weeps because he's being rejected. David also is being rejected, by his son and by that spirit of murder and hatred. Now, David knew it was there before this happened in chapter 14. and he just didn't know how to handle it. And we could say with ourselves, we could say, in life, there are things that you don't know how to handle things. But you can walk with God, minister to people, love people, forgive people, pray for people. And it's in the hand of God as to what he's doing with people. But he searches hearts. But never be like the elder son in Luke 15. Do not be like Judas betraying the Lord. Of course not. Or Absalom in this story. And let's not be like the way I know we all can be, like stubborn and rebellious. But let's pray to be spirit-filled, humble, and broken. Okay? Amen. God bless you.